Welcome to the IAP, the Interactive Accessibility Podcast, bringing you the people, technology, and ideas helping to make your world accessible to everyone.
Hey, welcome to the IAP Interactive Accessibility Podcast, brought to you by the Paciello Group and its affiliate Interactive Accessibility. I am your host, Mark Miller, thanking you for helping us keep it accessible. Do us a favor. If you're enjoying the IAP, share it. Tell someone about it. Hey, even link to it from your accessible website. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm really happy to introduce, first of all, the return of Todd Waits, who's back for this podcast. Welcome back, Todd. Thank you for co-hosting with me. Really nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Great. And I want to take no more time here and introduce our guest, Sha Yao, who is coming to us because she has invented something, and this came out of, I think, a need that was observed. One, because of a relationship with her grandmother who had Alzheimer's, and also work with adults who adult care, right? Who needed your care. And so, Sha, you've really come up with a way for people with cognitive disabilities that might have a challenge around sort of feeding themselves, a better way to do that through some dishware. And I don't know how you would say it, but it's cups, spoons, a tray, all this different stuff. I'll let you explain it. That does this great job of sort of returning independence to people. Can you tell us a little bit about what it is? And then I'd love to get into your mind a little bit and find out how in the world you actually came up with this.
Yes. Hi, everyone. This is Sha, and I'm the founder and chief designer of Sha Design. And the reason why, I thank you so much for having me here, and I can talk about the product I come up with. This is originally designed for my grandmother who had dementia. So during the time, my family, as the main caregivers taking care of my grandma, we realized one thing is after our loved ones are diagnosed, we have no clue what's the best for her and how to take care of her. And the doctor will also only tell you one thing is they can give you prescription for for some medicine. And that's the only thing you can do. There's no current cure. There's no way to stop it. And everyone could have developed it. And as a designer background myself, I'm an industrial designer. So I want to show it in my own way to contribute it to my family, and also try to help my grandmother to have better quality of life. And also another important thing is to try to alleviate caring burdens from my mom and my uncle. So I started this idea not only focusing on the feeding problem, because if you are associated with dementia, you will probably know that caregivers will need 24 hours support because they have so much work to do to assist a person with dementia. So in the very beginning, I didn't focus on the feeding, but I want to analyze it. What have the most potential? What can be used the most during a day? So I volunteer in the adult daycare center as a first step, and I try to work with the professional caregivers and to observe what kind of problems a person may have during the whole day. And also I work with the professional caregivers and see what kind of treatment or what's the best way for the caregivers themselves to take care of a person with dementia. So that's when I realized there are so many things I can do. For example, one of the problems they may wondering of industry, one category is what I'm trying to do is to try to improve the daily activity. And another way is, another direction is to how can I improve the interaction between them and ourselves. So I focus on daily activity, and I think I realized that eating is one of the main issues they may have for most of the people with dementia, they may have less appetite, and their physical strength and cognitive impairment may cause them to eat less than they should. And the caregivers will have to assist them to eat or feed them at least twice a day. So that's why I think, this has the most potential to develop. And also when I consult with the professional caregivers and also the family caregivers, they told me it will be a very good input if I could do something to help on this direction. So
Wow.
that's how I come up with all the ideas and try to invent something to help on this.
So I see pictures on your website of you and your grandmother, and they look like any granddaughter that loves their grandmother. There's that one where you're sort of embracing her and kissing her. And then I imagine you volunteering in these adult daycares and observing all of this. So there's this very compassionate, loving mind that's also very analytical, right? That, because it's amazing to me, hearing you talk, you're not just saying I saw they were having a hard time eating, I decided to try and fix that. You're saying, I was looking at everything, and eating seemed to be the place where I could make the most impact. Right.
Correct.
It's like in our business, Todd, when we're working with a client and we're prioritizing issues and stuff like that on their website for accessibility. One of the big things we do is we show them where can you make the most impact in the most, in the shortest amount of time. And you really approach this situation the same way. And then I looked at some of these things that you've done, and there was amazing things to me. One, I'd love to hear you talk about color and the research around color and how that stimulates people who are not eating enough because of these challenges to eat more. And some of the physical design features, I was looking at some of the physical design features, like how you have contoured the spoon to match the bowl, thinking, oh man, I want that. Right? I struggle with getting the bowl. Can I get one of these for myself? It would make my life easier. So talk to me a little bit about how you obviously didn't just sort of make it up. There was a process here by which you really dove in, you figured out things like the color, you put some thought behind it to the point and did research to the point where you came up with these amazing ideas like the contoured spoon. Talk to me a little bit about that process for you and how you went from, I love my grandmother and these people that I'm volunteering for at adult daycares, to this very well thought out sort of engineering result, right? Product.
Yes. So if people ever have a chance to go on my website, I don't know if I can say it here or.
Yeah, you can say your website, and we'll actually link to it as well from the show notes. So okay. If you don't have a pen, we'll link for it. We'll link to it.
Sure. So the website is eatwellset.com. EATWELLSET.com. So if you ever pull over to see to check the website, and you'll see a very colorful picture of the product itself. And so for most of the people, the first impression for the product is very colorful. And it's not because I like color. It's because it's a research backup all the features. So obviously the color is one of the most significant feature, which is based on the research conducted by Boston University, which states that if a person switch the white plate to a solid color ones, a person with dementia can consume 24% more food and 84% more liquid. And that research had been done a long time ago. And when I first did my research, and when I found that report, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, there is a great paper state that clearly, but no one really applied it to the real product and to be used in the real world. And that's the timing when I decided that I want to apply that to all the products they use. And also based on that, I also come up with 20 more features, all similar to this, but all apply to the whole set to help people to eat better. For example, the features you just mentioned that is I made the bowl slanted, so all the food or the soup will be gathering on one side without scooping by themselves. And that's all based on the one-on-one observations when I volunteer in the adult daycare centers. And so I have, I think I volunteered in the adult daycare centers for almost 1 year. So I have the privilege to serve them and also watch them to observe what's the struggle they may have. For example, they may confuse the patterns on the plate. If there's a leaf patterns and they may think it's the food, they're always grouping it constantly. So that's also another reason why if you see my design, there's no patterns on it because it might confuse them. And also I made the bowl slanted, and also the curvature of the inner wall of the bowl can be totally match the curvature of the spoon head. That's also because when I was observing a grandma to eat, and I saw her try so hard to use the spoon to scoop the food and try to come close to her mouth. But when she scooped the food, it's not that easy for her to push the food into the spoon. It's so easy for everyone that we all know the eye-hands coordination thing is like, oh, I want this food in my spoon, so I just scoop. But for them, they can do a certain physical movement, but they are not able to figure out the relationship between the food and hand and the spoon. So what I'm trying to do is I want to make every process of eating as easy as possible. So that's why I'm thinking, okay, so why not I just make the curvature match. I match the curvature between the spoon and the bowl. So when they scoop the food, that can be so easy for them to get whatever they can, and they can get a smoother scoop. Yeah, and also there's a if you check the cups we have, both of the cups I designed are anti-tipping because people with dementia may have the depth perception problem, which means it's almost like if you close one of your eyes and try to grab things in front of you, you're not able to get the right distance between yourself and the object in front of you. So they will tend to tip over cups very often. Most of the caregivers don't know that. They will just say, hey, grandma, why you tip over the cups again and again? And, the water spill out and they got frustrated and themselves got frustrated too. So what I'm trying to do is I revised the existing mug and I extended the handle of the mug to the tabletop for added support. So when they hold the cups, it can be anti-tipping. And also another cup, there is a rubber mat material on the bottom designed as the cup holder. So it won't tip over that easily. So it actually helps them to finish the water and feel less frustrated. And also, I might talk too much. I'm just very...
Doing great. Keep going.
Yeah, and another feature is I realized that when I use the straw, when I put the straw in the cup, and people with dementia, sometimes they will try to move their heads to look for the straw, and they're not able to catch it. That's something very tiny thing to not able to be discovered or solved by the caregivers themselves. Sometimes they just got frustrated. So I designed a cup lid which can work with the cup, and also it's a little bit hard to describe, but the straw, there's a hole for the straw, and the lid will hold the straw in place, and also goes to the lower part of the cup because the cup is also slanted inside. So it helps them to finish the liquid. Yeah, so there are more, I usually won't talk about that much detail because there are more than 20 of them. So, but I'm glad that I have a chance at least talk about a few of them. And if people are interested in, they can definitely take a look.
What an amazing story and product. I love the story of you, for one thing, having such emotional skin in the game, right? Your grandmother who you love, and you knew what she once was, and now you know what she's capable of doing, and you didn't want there to be barriers. And it's anybody, like, it's easy to identify a need. It's not so easy to figure out a way around it. And the fact that you decided to be in the trenches with the folks and knowing that maybe you didn't know the whole need, and volunteering and being in there with them, and then thinking through, wow, I could really improve this situation is amazing. And I love what you're describing. I actually, I have one arm, and when you were talking about the bowl, yeah, it is tough to scrape that bottom if it's not off to one side. And so there's a lot of applications that I see here. I'm just very, very impressed.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Todd, because I was thinking about you and some of the challenges that that Sha was describing, wondering if, like only having one arm, if it's more difficult to steady a bowl and maybe get after something, or do you have issues with, I don't know why you would, but even like the stability of the cups and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like, we look at accessibility. And one of the things that we're always kind of telling people is when you make something more accessible to a wider audience, you tend to improve it for the audience that's already there as well. Like in all seriousness, listening to you talk, thinking like, wow, sitting at my desk right now, I've got a cup of coffee and it's not very stable. And if I put it far away from me because I'm worried about knocking it over, and not that I'm going to slam into it, but that just a subtle movement's going to knock it all over my keyboard. I mean, I really think that maybe you're innovating in a way that's going to even reach beyond its original purpose. But for you, Todd, are there other things that you can think of that would help in your situation?
Well, I'll tell you what's funny, and it's a running joke, is my wife and I, when we go out to eat or when we're sitting at our table and I'm done eating, her and even, our 11-year-old, their place is spotless. I move my plate and there's food all over. But it's because when you're taking the fork and scraping up the food, you have no way to also kind of hold it onto the plate. So, 60% gets on the spoon or the fork and the rest finds its way onto the table. And so if there's something around the edges of a plate, that would be amazing.
I can just imagine like somebody holding my hand and not letting me like steady the plate or the bowl, and how like frustrating and irritating that would be. So I imagine it's got to be a challenge for you. So Sha, did you ever think, I mean, I don't know if this is a unique conversation for you or if you've seen this before, but do things bubble up for you where the applications that you intended are just the beginning and you're really seeing ways that this might extend beyond its original intent?
Yes, but it was not in my plan. It's also, it's only because after, by the way, I ran a crowdfunding campaign in 2014. It helps me to fund all the molded, cast all the molds and to really deliver the products into the market. And it's after I delivered the products and I started to receive some emails, and the supporters told me like, oh, your products really helps my son who have some physical constraints, and your products really helps my mother who just got a stroke early this year. So this is the moment that I realized that, I think I designed a product for universal. It's a universal design. Everyone can use it, and people who ever can benefit from it are very welcome to take a look and try it. And Todd, you probably need to send me your address. I want to send you a kit to try it.
Oh, wow, I love that.
Yeah.
I think my wife would love that too, if I had that.
Yeah. And even the
you could be responsible for helping Todd's marriage. Can you believe that? You can do that.
Yeah. And even the parents give me the feedback, like they want to let their children to try it too, especially during the time when they learn self-feeding. So it's another way, but although the size might be revised since they are smaller, but I'm glad that the product can help people with dementia, like my grandmother, and also people with other needs. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
So I'd like to pivot, if you guys are okay, a little bit here. One of the other side of this that's really interesting to me, Sha, is that it's one thing to innovate this way and to come up with something, but there's a whole other piece where you actually have to bring it to market. You have to create funds, like you were talking about before. You started to touch on it a little bit. Can you talk to me a little bit about what that process was like for you? And I'm imagining it was a little more unfamiliar to you than the design part of it, right? So what was that process, and what kind of resources did you pull in to really help yourself get it to the point where it is now, and in the way that it's touching the market now?
So after I finished the design, and as a designer, I thought my job is done. I come up with the best design I can ever come up with. Then the next step is I graduated from school and I got the first place. And I thought I will just find a job and, also try to figure out how to bring my products to life.
And when you say, sorry to interrupt, when you say you got first place, you mean you got first place in the 2014 Stanford Design Challenge. Is that what you're talking about?
I was also the first place when I graduated in my.
Oh, you graduated first in your school?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh man. So you get first places all over the place.
Yeah.
Todd, can you relate to that? I can't.
But the Stanford words is actually one of my strategy to bring the products to the market. Because after I finished the design, and I was not planning to bring it to the market that soon, but because I was poor during that time, to be honest.
Of course,
and
you're a student.
I didn't have a job. And during that time, I was confused. Like, I have to figure out what I want to do in the future, for my future. And during that time, the only thing I started to do is, besides looking for a job, and I come up with the business plan. But that's not for someone else. That's for myself, because I want to know how much resources I have to put together, and to how can I really market it, or what kind of connections or resources or money funding I have. Then I realized I don't really have much. But that's the first step. And my strategy during that time is, I know that I definitely need the funding for the manufacturing process, because it's a physical product, and that's a lot of money. And also I will need a way to market the product as well. So my strategy is to find as much as competitions I can, the design competition, and I try to enroll. And some of them are free, like the Stanford one is free. And the way I decided to do this is because I realized that even though I'm very familiar with people work associated with Alzheimer's, like I attended not only volunteering daycare center, but also I contact the Alzheimer's associations, and I talk to support groups locally and in other chapters too. But I know all the caregivers, but I don't have any ways to talk to like executive level managers and to really let them know that I have this wonderful product and I am trying to get funding. And so during that time, I'm lucky to won the first place at the Stanford Design Challenge. That's actually a really good turning point for me because I was trying to contact as much as possible, like all the professionals in that field.
Right.
But when I cold email people, they probably won't reply. Yeah. So
You don't say.
yeah, I was very excited. I still remember how it feels like when I passed the first round competition, and finally I can presented my work in front of more than 200 experts at Stanford. So, and one of the judges even is one of the person I tried to contact, and I emailed her several times but never got responded. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is my lifetime chance. I have to present it well. So that's my turning point. I let the product to be seen by important people in this field. And also after that, I decided to run my crowdfunding campaign. And it's not that easy for me during that time because I'm a designer only. I don't really know much about it, but I did my homework. I searched online and connect with crowdfunding campaign teams, and I asked my friends and families to help me to take like great photos, and I designed a website by myself, and I also come with the price levels and discuss with my friends. And I also because I went to design school, so I also look for my roommates to help me to film the videos. Mm-hmm. And I think I filmed it 3 times. Then as a draft. Then I also use part of my rent to hire someone professional to really present the products in the video. Yeah, it's all comes together, and I ran a crowdfunding campaign and raised 100,000 during that time. And
we need to get you into Shark Tank, the show Shark Tank.
Oh yeah, many people mentioned that to me. Yeah, but I think they'll probably focus more on the profit part. So
right.
Yeah, I have to have some numbers for them before I go.
So Sha, is this the only thing that you're doing right now? Are you working another job, or has this gotten to a point where it's taking your full-time attention?
It's a very good question, actually. I also work for other companies too. I wear several hats at the same time, and another thing I'm working on is about the VR, virtual reality, digital content. Wow,
very cool. So is your ultimate goal to be doing nothing but EatWell, or do you think this will always kind of stay as a passion project for you?
It's a really tricky situation for me, actually. I really enjoy designing something can help people to have better quality of life. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's always like, as long as I can come up good designs and really make it into the market, I'm willing to give it a try and just do it. And but for the second generation of the products, I really want to focus more on other directions besides eating. But as what I mentioned, that before I really devoted myself to a project, I actually need a long time to prepare for it and to do all the research I can. And I want myself to be at least the experts in that field to really answer any questions like people may ask me. And I want to make sure that every step is solid, and I don't want to just draw something and design it and just I want to fit the need. So it may be a longer process. So during that time I may work on something else, but I will always I know I will still develop something more in the future.
Well, that sounds wonderful. We need to wrap up. Our time's coming to an end, but I feel like I could talk to you forever. You're
welcome.
Really, it's really an interesting case of you seeing a need and solving it, and then you end up I think it happens to everybody, right? Everybody's got a skill set, and it leads to something. and then all of a sudden they're thrown into the fire where they have to figure out all these other things, like you're no longer a designer, you're an entrepreneur, right? With a design background, and you have to learn how to become an entrepreneur, and it's something that keeps going. So it's very exciting. Obviously, you're at the front end of all this, right? This is all new to you. You're newly out of school, and this is all unfolding for you. So that's very, very exciting. I can see someday where Sha Enterprises has multiple products out there for solving all sorts of issues for all sorts of people that need that kind of help. One of the things that really that I love about it, something like this, right, that you've created, is there's a lot of practical things that it improves for people, right? Like I can get the food onto my spoon, I can get it into my mouth, but really what, at the end of the day, what it's providing is providing independence and dignity for people who are starting to lose it. And that sometimes I think is the most important aspect of all this. And, you know, when you don't have those type of issues, you don't stop to think about how important that might be to somebody. You know, you see a person in a wheelchair or a person who is struggling with something and you think, whatever, you know, that's their lot in life, and you move on. But really they're struggling to find their dignity where they may have felt like they've lost it. And this kind of thing is just one thing in their day that brings that back a little bit for them. So I think that's wonderful. And I think you've got a great product. Anything to add before we wrap up?
That lack of dignity also plays into quality of life.
Mm.
You know, you start to see people give up, and I think you're giving new hope. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and Todd, for you, I think in your story and what happened with your arm, there was a little bit of that. You had a little bit of that struggle too in your background. So you probably really understand and appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, listen, really appreciate it again, Sha. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Todd, I want to see your face here more often. It's really great having you on board with this and helping me out here, so I'm not all by myself. So thank you so much for being on today. And this is Mark Miller, thanking Sha, Todd, our producer Marissa, and reminding you all to keep it accessible.
The IAP Interactive Accessibility Podcast is brought to you by Interactive Accessibility, the accessibility experts. You can find their Access Matters blog at interactiveaccessibility.com/blog.